Hello, hi everybody. Welcome to PMCC BrainHuddle of 2024. This is gonna be our final webinar in this year, and we'll see you again next year. So today we are so thrilled to have you with us today for this very sophisticated session. Why? Okay, let's go into it. But before anything else, let me just give you a little introduction of us and this webinar. At PMCC, we are passionate about empowering leaders, teams, organizations through our project management, as well as our new department, which is learning and development, which is also one of our services that is globally recognized. So here comes BrainHuddle. What is BrainHuddle? To those who are new here, BrainHuddle is actually an initiative designed to provide a platform for experts like our speakers today to share valuable insights on relevant topics shaping today's market. These sessions actually aim to equip professionals like you with actionable knowledge that can be applied to your daily work and leadership challenges. So if you would like to learn more, feel free to visit our website at www.pmcc-corporation.com. So before we begin, let's go over some quick house rules. Number one, we encourage you to switch on your cameras and actively engage with our speakers for the best experience. Number two, please keep your microphones muted unless you are requested to unmute. Or if you have questions, you are welcome to drop any questions in the chat box, and we will address those questions during or after our session. Okay, our topic today is unlocking the future of conscious leadership, transformative learning at the intersection of AI and human intelligence. That is very interesting. So who will be speaking about this are, of course, none other than our Peter Weiss and Roshni. So how do our coaches work together? Peter Weiss is a highly experienced project manager and AI-driven strategy expert. Over his 30 years of career, Peter has been a pioneer in integrating AI with conscious leadership, helping leaders and organizations achieve transformative outcomes. And for Roshni, she is an executive coach and leadership expert with over 25 years of experience. She has worked across Asia, helping leaders master emotional intelligence, strategic calm, and career development. So now, together, Peter and Roshni will share their deep insights into conscious leadership, a game-changing approach that blends self-awareness, empathy, and the power of AI tools to create sustainable and impactful leadership. So it's AI meets AI. Without further ado, let me hand over the session to Peter and Roshni. So Peter, over to you.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah, for the intro. And thank you, everyone, for joining, and welcome to this session for the BrainHuddle from PMCC, which some of you are familiar over the time, which we have done many of those about different topics. And today is a very special topic, and I'm proud to have you all here, and including Roshni, who is a strategic partner in this whole undertaking. Now, unlocking the future of conscious leadership. How does our future look like, especially in view of AI and the change of demographics, and what does it mean to our leadership? It's a tough and a big question, isn't it? And if you see how the changes in the past have revolutionized our being, our way of living, our personal life, of course, but also the corporate way of doing business, it changed when they industrialized 100 years ago and came into the factories. And then in the 80s, when the computer came, isn't it? And 2000 onwards, when we had internet and Google, everything changed drastically, our life. However, all of these changes improved our efficiency as a human being. It basically boosts our output, and it was like an additional aid to whatever we do on a daily basis. Now, facing AI, actually, that's a complete different ballgame. And that's the awareness also we want to raise together with leadership, where in combination, AI and leadership still being somehow a human being, isn't it? It will transform all of us. But this time, the speed is different. And this time, it's not a computer which will support us. This time, actually, it is a complete different level of intelligence. And that's what we combine and bring together. Now, let me go and extend. So who are we here talking about all this? Most of you are familiar, I would say, with PMCC, the blue logo, because PMCC is in business since 17 years now, doing project management. We do planning, monitoring, control, system assurance, requirements management. So we are doing mainly technical EPC projects within Malaysia, but also Southeast Asia. We have been in Indonesia doing projects, and Philippines and Thailand. Now, for those who know me a little bit longer, I started doing project management training as well 10 years ago, maybe a bit earlier. And it was always kept to that level, but I never really push it to the limits. Now, coming into the era with AI, as you can see, we have now our colorful PMCC logo, which is actually the very same thing. The original PMCC means Project Management, Coaching and Consulting, and now the new logo means Progressive Mindset, Coaching and Communication, where our Roshni here plays a huge role because she co-founded this together with me as a learning and development department. And we are going together into AI augmented and conscious leadership. That's the topic of today. And of course, we both are master coach, team coach, group coach certified, and we offer this kind of trainings now. And we have an upcoming course, which is now the next level of training, basically, which is the AI multiplied AI equal results. You will hear a bit later about it. So now you heard about us already, myself and Roshni, doing this kind of mindset architecture, because AI, ultimately it's a tool, isn't it? It's our mindset which makes the difference how we use the tool. And you will hear about that as well in a moment. Now, I think having this discussion here, it should not be just a one-way avenue. So what actually Roshni, myself thought, what we would like to do is having a conversation with you guys and talking about what actually is conscious leadership. It's a big word, isn't it? And maybe it's not a hype. It's just something different where other fields, if you are coming maybe from a bit of spiritual point of view or healing or whatever, they use that kind of consciousness levels already. And now suddenly it finds the way into the business world, the corporate levels, where actually what we are talking here, it is not something brand new. It's the combination, which is the interesting part, isn't it? So now I invite Roshni as well to give a few words, and then we would like to dive into the conversation here. What actually is conscious leadership? Roshni, are you here?
Yeah. Hi, morning, everybody. Moving on from what Peter said, and we're talking about conscious leadership. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard about ESG. It's been one of the hottest topic in the last 1.5 years. Now, if you really try to understand what ESG is, and if we're looking at what needs to be done in its entirety as a community, we need to start moving beyond our organizations and looking at how and what we do that impacts not only just a siloed organization, but we need to look at how it's impacting the community, right? So looking at conscious leadership, it now does not only sit with your role, your job functions, your deliveries. It is a higher level of responsibility, and there is a lot that needs to be done because, very simplistically, if we take it from an environmental point of view, from an ESG point of view, if we take it from a planet perspective, we're struggling. And the reason why all of these things have come up is because we now, as communities and individuals, need to start thinking a little beyond our job roles, our job functions. We need to start emphasizing community. So conscious leadership really works from a platform of starting with looking at yourself, looking at self-awareness, looking at aligning your values. And when we say a higher purpose beyond profit, everybody, of course, we all have driven ambition and want to make profit, or we want to do well. And that is natural, and that is completely fine. But the next level of leadership has to look at, what are we doing? What are we doing as responsible leaders that will then look at the well-being of community and the environment, and to look at how to raise the levels of collaboration, trust, facilitating empathy, and looking at sustainable positive impact. Let's face it, the latest Talent Corp report, I'm not sure if any one of you have had the privilege of reading it. There are 2 points that came up in that new study. The 2 key points are ESG and upskilling on ESG, and understanding the needs of organizations and communities and the environment is highly required for everyone in the workforce. And the other thing that was mentioned was the incoming changes as a result of AI. As per Talent Corp, they estimate 600,000 jobs to be impacted. Peter and I had a discussion about it. We think it could be more.
I think it's much more. Yes, Roshni. Because looking at Malaysia with over 30 million people, isn't it?
Yeah.
AI, that's my belief. AI has a much more profound impact than actually what is reported there. But let's have a chat later on this.
Yeah. So as a starting point, even as a nation, if we just take it from a Malaysian point of view, the focus moving forward is, how do we get everyone upskilled in the level of looking at ESG requirements, which can also sit, like what we just said, community impact. And number 2, how does AI fit into our whole structure and life cycle of running organizations or leading organizations with AI?
Good. Correct. So now, everyone here, please, start chatting, or, Zoom has this fantastic thing with emoticons. You say like, yeah, true or not true, because what we are talking here, it is right for everyone, because as you know, that whatever you say is true for you, isn't it? Because deep in ourselves, we know what is true or not. And if we say something which is not true, usually then we go out and have to apologize. Oh, sorry, what I said was wrong. But that's actually the big deal, guys. And now when we talk, the first sentence here, emphasizing self-awareness and authenticity, to me, that's one of the biggest starter for conscious leadership. And my question to you guys, how conscious are you about yourself as a being? What is your preference? Do you know your personal values actually? And do you put a preference over your personal values, or would you make a decision for the greater good? And then ultimately, when you talk about beyond profit, I got examples, talking about it is one thing, but actually practicing it, that's where the big deal is coming. And in PMCC, I prefer people have priority with family, or just a recent member of our PMCC team, their house got flooded the other day. And basically, we had a program, we should do, videoing this and that. But at the end of the day, you have to scrap that for the greater good of the person, the family, isn't it? You cannot just stick to, oh, we need to do this. You need to support. And ultimately, sometimes, of course, for me, it's the good news. I'm the business owner. If I get a bit more profit or less profit, it doesn't hurt me as long my team has good health and has the priority, because at the end, we are a team and working together for years, isn't it? And that's where I believe that's where the value is coming from. And also, it then includes all the rest of mindfulness and all that key topics, which is the definition of conscious leadership. So do you guys agree what we are saying here?
Absolutely. My name is Julian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Julian, yes.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. Thank you, PMCC, for this session. Much appreciate what you're saying. If you could return back to the previous slide, I don't know if I can do this, but the previous slide says a lot of things.
Yes.
Authenticity, and Roshni, I see your comment on integrity. I think we are all in the business of trying to make lives better.
Yes.
I've been trained as a civil engineer, and I've been in the industry for the past 43 years or so. Now, of course, I developed over the years. Now, I find that definitely integrity is extremely valuable, and conscious leadership really is like Peter when you say that how aware of yourself are we consciously aware for ourselves. I think training is of one of the greatest values to have is actually to learn things quickly. Having been in the industry for over 40 years, I find that I've learned things too late. So thank you, PMCC, for bringing this.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
I know it's never too late, but the thing is, I wish I knew things now that I wish I knew things 20 years ago, what I know now. Had it been accelerated for me, I think I would have made a bigger difference. I find the biggest challenge that I have now working on projects in Malaysia, and I'm managing 2 projects currently for a small consultancy firm, remote from Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
And it's with a government agency, and I find it's very difficult making headway because there are many issues in there. I mean, it's project management. I'm sorry, I'm coming from project management point of view.
That's fine.
We've got timelines.
We understand you perfectly.
Yeah.
That's my business.
We've got timelines, and we've got multidisciplinary teams, mechanical engineering, electrical, civil, and I'm trying to pull this together to meet a target. And I'm finding it very difficult to get through sometimes for even the simplest things like respecting a program. Now, I think perhaps PMCC, in education, could perhaps also reach out to decision makers. I'm sure we are. Commercially, we are all decision makers, but I think we rely a lot on the government of Malaysia. And I think perhaps, some effort should be made in improving understanding of where project managers come from. I think it's a very poor understanding. And sorry to say, even well-established consultancies don't quite understand our roles. And I find that breaking barriers and trying to get them to understand where we come from is a challenge in itself. And I'm glad PMCC are doing this. I'm sure it's going to go a very, very long way. That's all I have to say, really.
Thanks,
thank you.
Julian.
I'm here to listen and I'm here to learn.
Then please listen because we need to go ahead as well. And let's have more interaction with new slides coming. I believe it's I truly appreciate what you just said, because myself being a project manager, and I have every week to do with Ministry of Transport and the public, the government people, and a certain level of awareness is there, but it takes a little bit longer, I guess, until transformation is happening, isn't it? It always depends on the leader. Hence, what we try to do here, and not trying, we actually doing it, as you can see. We move into the conscious leadership where I believe everybody here can agree that it is the biggest pillar. It starts with your personal awareness. If you can't grasp the concept, it will be very difficult to move on in the first place, isn't it? And secondly, how would you like to lead others if you are not self-aware about the situation? How come you cannot solve a problem if you are not aware about the problem and that it is a situation which needs a different view, isn't it? And I believe, Roshni, that's where the next level of emotional intelligence is coming in. Roshni, that's your
Absolutely.
forte, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, I mean, it sounds like a very big word, but really it is taking the efforts, and this will happen through training. It'll happen through engagement, where individuals start being aware of how they actually interact, speak, and communicate with one another. So from Julian's sharing just now, there was a case of the misalignment of understanding of roles. But what if we could take control of that narrative? And what if we could engineer the communication in a way that benefits everybody? So the mindset shift here, when we say look at emotional intelligence, is understanding what we want from our needs and looking at how we're going to enhance these relationships through our own emotions and how we navigate through it. It's a very big subject matter, but it starts off, like Peter said, it's about us being aware of ourselves first, right? And how we want to engage with others, right? Authenticity and vulnerability. From an Asian cultural perspective, vulnerability is not our strong point.
No, the fake thing is a big deal, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because we are conditioned. It's very normal in Asian households for us to not be vulnerable. We may not share our emotions so freely. It really depends on how we were brought up and what it is or how it is our parents brought us up. But a lot of the time with Asians, it's very difficult to be vulnerable. It is difficult to be open, and it is also very difficult for many Asian cultures to have difficult conversations. So we Malaysians, let's take the context of Malaysia. Malaysians in general, we're not really a confrontational society. We don't like to rock the boat and we don't like to cause problems. However, we need to have difficult conversations. We need to have challenging conversations in order to solve problems effectively. So if we are in an avoidant behavior, we're not going to solve problems. We're not going to.
But Roshni, maybe I just give an example to Julian as well. In many ways, being a project manager is sometimes quite a challenge, isn't it? And me being a Swiss guy, okay, I'm Malaysianized after 20 years, as you can see, proper Batik, isn't it? So, but ultimately, for me, when I go to a meeting, I tend to tell the truth. I can tell, oh, we are late here, or that's a real problem there. If you don't look at it, then. But actually, that's the funny thing. Asians don't like to hear the truth, isn't it? And then I get shouted like, oh, why you? But 2-3 days later, it's like, yeah, you have been right. But nobody would tell, isn't it? So at the end of the day, to me, transparency between myself and my own team, of course, very, very important. But as well, transparency to anyone else, either my client or even the ministries or whatever. We need to tell what is there, because if I'm, and this is the part of self-awareness and again the leadership part, if I'm telling rubbish, that's which will turn back sooner or later, and with our acceleration of how the development goes on earth, it will turn back much faster nowadays. They call it express manifestation. So it will happen that actually the truth will be faced and you have to apologize again. So why not just tell the truth from the start? Easy.
But the challenge with that is, ladies and gentlemen, is to be able to put forward what it is you want to say without maybe hurting anyone, but still having your points put across. So the important point there is to be very aware of yourself and how it is you come across when you are communicating. We're going to touch a little bit on that with conscious language in a little bit. Shall we? Sorry.
Maybe if there is any chat or anything to mention.
So,
Roshni, sorry, I don't mean to hog this session, but Roshni,
No.
you're absolutely right.
no problem.
And I believe that there are ways of saying things. There are many ways of saying certain things. And I think that's a skill that many people lack. And I think we really need to learn something from you on this one. I'm very guilty of that, actually.
It's maybe not a skill, actually. It sometimes takes a little bit of courage to tell the real thing, isn't it?
Yeah, when that courage, sometimes when that courage shows itself, maybe 20-30%, it gets knocked down. Because as you correctly said, Peter, Malaysians don't want to hear the truth straight away. It's got to be put in a very diplomatic and sugar-coated way. So sometimes, it calls upon special skills. And I think that skill, I lack that skill, unfortunately. Being a technical person, I tend to lack that skill and I need to develop it. So please, Roshni, go ahead. Tell us. Give us the secrets.
Okay. Let's move on then.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay, maybe Roshni, the system thinking one. Actually, for the technical people, they know what I'm talking about, that systems, it's not the component alone which makes a car, isn't it? It's actually the entire system of wheels, engine, the car body, whatever it is, to make a system which can drive an aeroplane, it can fly. So these are systems, isn't it? However, what we are talking here is the entire system from a human being, and now in this case, integrating AI into our environment, into our system, the way we think. And that's where the mindset architect kicks in. What we actually want to say here is, those days you said, oh, just Google it, isn't it? However, there are much better tools like Perplexity now, or even ChatGPT you can use and search, which gives you much better results than Google. And actually we like, oh, I didn't know. And how do I use it? Because it's something which you cannot grasp, isn't it? It's a new system which comes together with our way of thinking, the way we lead, the way we talk, the way we actually use the new intelligence at our fingertips. Did I round it up, Roshni? Correctly?
Yeah, essentially with AI, we've got an additional brain with us, which is fantastic. But the challenge will be, how do we marry the two? And how do we maintain, as we classified as our actual intelligence with artificial intelligence? And how do we lead in that context? The other perspective of systems thinking from a people front is interconnectedness, team dynamics, collaboration, and engagement is going to become far more important in the era of AI, because we'll be in a situation where decisions will be much faster. We'll have more availability of information. So decisions will have to be made in a far more rapid manner. And therefore, the ability for teams to come together and work collaboratively will become far more important or imperative, actually, as we move forward. The pace in which life goes is going to accelerate tremendously, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So mindfulness and growth models, practicing presence and thoughtful decision-making becomes even more front and center, because again, the question of ethics, integrity, from a perspective of cybersecurity, comes in this perspective of how do we manage growth? How do we manage the mindfulness around that? And how do we make it work efficiently, right? And of course, value-driven decisions. This will depend entirely on your organization and what it is the organization wants to achieve from a values-driven perspective. It's a good exercise if you are in an organization or you run a business. It's really good sometimes to bring your teams together and realign and understand what exactly does this organization want to achieve from a values-driven perspective? What do you uphold? And what is it that we want to achieve above all else, right?
Oh.
So here we say aligning leadership actions with a higher purpose that benefits all stakeholders. So sometimes regrouping and coming together with your teams, even in your sub-teams, right? If your organization is not doing it, and if you're leading a team, you can have those separate sessions to talk about what it is as a team you'd like to achieve and what are the values that you'd like to really adhere to or believe in, right?
So maybe just to give you a bit an idea, the way I look at mindfulness, and you will hear later in the next slides about conscious language as well. Nowadays, if you talk to people, and actually the words you are using make a huge impact, isn't it? Now, if you use words which maybe are not favorable for someone you are talking to, and trust me, I had this example. If, let's say, you tell someone, I don't trust you, you are a liar, it's a strong word, isn't it? Now, just imagine that it is like you put a nail into a piece of wood. That means you basically hit someone pretty bad, isn't it? And the problem is, if you are not mindful about that, that nail is there. And then maybe 2 days later, you figure out, oh, shoot, I did something wrong. You know, it's no good. Then you go and apologize. In other words, you pull that nail out, isn't it? But in that piece of wood, okay, in the case of this person now, there is still a hole, isn't it? It's like a scar. It's an emotional scar, which is there maybe for life. If this person has no clue how to maybe practice forgiveness or you know, have a bigger awareness to understand, oh, it is basically my own doing, manifestation, whatever. But ultimately, guys, the point is this kind of consciousness level, that's what I'm talking about, and being mindful to see your language is putting scars, potentially scars, into other people. Doesn't matter if you apologize, that scar is still there. And this is the big deal, which nowadays people are more sensitive about. And I believe the way we also want to be involved in conversations, we don't like if people talk in that sense to us. So let's move on. I would say we should. Time is pressing.
Yeah, and from a generational perspective, Gen Zs and Gen Alphas have a very different view of how they want to be addressed or how they want to be spoken to. So having younger teams and looking at their mindset becomes very, very important as we move along.
Okay, Sarah, can you quickly share the link to the bot? How many of you have ChatGPT account? I mean, paid or not paid, doesn't matter. You have?
Julian. Yeah.
Okay. Can you share the link, Sarah? So if you now click that link, which is given here to that bot, then basically I click here. So it will open. I have, of course, a ChatGPT link already. So it opens a chat window like that. Okay. So if everyone follow, does it work? Huh?
So you have to click on the Conscious Leadership Express Assessment link.
So, and if you have no account, sorry, it doesn't work for you. You need to have an account that you can log into ChatGPT. If not, never mind, you know, just follow. I do the example here with you online quickly that you see. And basically what we are doing, we show with this very simple example, what actually ChatGPT can do already based on, okay, I have a PMCC program, this thing, but basically it gives you an idea what is already possible for you to interact now with this higher intelligence. Are you ready? So for those who who are familiar with ChatGPT, you can either talk to the guy or, chat. So I type here, hello. So, and then, what ChatGPT is doing, it provides you the introduction to what it is all about here. So it's welcome to the PMCC BrainHuddle exercise. We are thrilled to have you here, and so on and so forth. Then the quick assessment is 3 questions, thought-provoking, of course, to help to explore your leadership mindset and potential growth areas. There are no right or wrong answers because literally leadership, if you ask Nelson Mandela, he has his view on leadership. If you ask a university professor from Yale, they have also different views on leadership. So leadership is situational, isn't it? So there is no right or wrong what you are doing here. But the key point is, I want to prove to you, and you need to become aware, AI will profoundly change the way we work together. Now, are you ready? Okay, so let's go. Okay, now the guy here is asking me question 1. You and those who have the link, you do your own exercise because the feedback will be different for everybody because you answer questions differently, isn't it? So, what does conscious leadership mean to you, and how do you practice in your daily life or work? Oh, okay, it has a huge meaning as I believe in personal awareness. I just give an answer, okay? So, and then, can you share an example of leadership moment where you consciously made a decision that prioritized the well-being of others of the greater good? Oh my goodness. Now, free feed to take time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm too lazy to type, okay? So there is this, I hope it works. I would like to answer this question just with talking to you because it's a bit longer answer for me. So to me, where I have given basically priority to maybe the team, my own team, as a bigger or greater good in compared to my own personal desires. So it's basically letting go of a job which I know it would be very troublesome and it doesn't help actually the business, respectively the team in general, where of course I would make profit as a business owner. However, sometimes it is not just about the profit, it's actually for the stability of the company and the team to stay together. And ultimately, I believe new business is coming in order for us having, a brighter and more sustainable future. Let's see.
Thank you for sharing this thoughtful example. It really highlights your dedication to prioritizing the long-term stability and well-being of your team over short-term personal gains. This kind of decision-making takes both self-awareness and a deep commitment to conscious leadership principles. Let's move on to the final question. Question 3. What aspects of conscious leadership do you find challenging, and what steps are you taking to improve? Whenever you're ready, feel free to share your thoughts.
Wow. Okay, the challenges of conscious leadership for me, I'm in the process to learn more about conscious leadership, growing into it, and to me is actually my personal awareness, because the more I see, the more I learn, the more I know, I can actually see, the more I know, I have no clue what is really out there, the universe, the bigger good, and interrelationship with people on different levels. I actually see that my understanding is so little, and I have a huge journey there. However, learning on that and see the connections and use and practice it together with people, I can see the benefit of the positive feedback I can get.
What a reflective and inspiring answer. Your openness about the ongoing nature of your leadership journey and your humility in acknowledging how much there is to learn speak volumes about your commitment to growth. It's wonderful that you're embracing the process, recognizing the power of connection, and finding value in the feedback you receive along the way.
Yeah.
Here's a summary of your leadership
Yeah.
style and
Okay, so no need to continue. You see, basically, the beauty is everything is in the chat as well, available. And then the guy is asking here, the last one, would you like some personalized tips for further enhance your conscious leadership journey? I said, yes, help me a bit, something like that. Wonderful. Okay, so now I get a little bit of embrace reflective practices for awareness, deepen regular habit of mindfulness or journaling. Wow, okay, cool. Set aside time weekly to assess how your leadership actually, oh, that's a good one. Reflecting on my own doing, isn't it? Power of feedback. So Roshni, you tell me later how I did, isn't it? As usual. So it's always guys, it's very important to have someone who is holding you accountable for what you are doing, isn't it? And give you the feedback. Then you see like, oh, okay, that's how it's perceived. And then deepen interpersonal connections. Would you like to share any specific ambition or direction? No, not now. Okay, good. Remember, leadership is a journey. Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. And then, of course, our own in-house workshop is coming where we talk much more deeper about this kind of leadership, but we combine it with AI and we teach you how to do this kind of stuff. There is much more, and we combine as well like Perplexity, the ChatGPT, of course, and the Copilot from Microsoft. A little bit of Claude will come. So you see how it works, isn't it? Guys, can you see actually how amazing that is? And this is just, I did this in a very short way of programming, basically, this exercise here in a GPT. So I believe, everybody who did it on your own, you get different answers because you have given different inputs, isn't it? If you actually see how quickly that works, and I programmed only three questions. Yeah. It's, to me, that's mind-boggling. This was not possible 10 years ago, simply not possible. And guys, 2 years ago, that whole thing went public, isn't it? You see how good it is now, and I can have a conversation. I don't need to do coding, nothing. And if you actually see, if you are becoming aware on the impact, what that means, it is to me, it is amazing actually what is happening here. Now, I think Roshni, you need to take me down, otherwise I'm a bit like emotional on this whole thing.
Yes, Peter is very enthused about AI and what it can do. So just moving forward, we're gonna touch a little bit on emotional agility and conscious language. It links to what we spoke about earlier with the pillars. Now, if you're looking at conscious language, we have to start getting intentional of how we use our choice of words and how we express ourselves. So we need to look at how we speak in a manner that is inclusive. We need to be aware of empathy, and we need to be a little bit more sensitive to not having a biased perspective, right? The power of language is very, very strong. Because once you say something, well, you can't really take it back, right? So in terms of how you say something, how you put something forward is all in your control, right? Communication, the beauty about communication is you are in control of what you say. But if you're not mindful about what it is you're saying, that's when things don't go to plan. So we need to start getting conscious and intentional of our choice of words. From a coaching perspective, we look at appreciative coaching. Appreciative coaching, we talk about elements of where it is taken on a positive skew. The language that we use is positive, and we lift rather than negate. So for example, if we say, if I'm speaking to Peter, rather than saying, so for example, Peter, you never seem to get on the call on time. I'm always waiting for 10 minutes. It's really quite frustrating.
Really?
Right? As an example. So so for someone, so in Peter's personality, Peter is easygoing, and depending on the relationship that you have with the person, they might take it very easily. But for someone who's a little bit more sensitive, or they might find it a little attacking.
How dare you? I'm always there. What are you talking about, isn't it?
Right. So from a conscious language perspective, there are ways in which we can put it across. You can also be humorous, perhaps, and you can say, Peter, are you always trying to find something to eat? That's why you are 5 minutes away from the call, or why you're not on the call on time.
And because usually calls with you take much longer than expected, isn't it?
So you can put it in jest, but I'm just giving examples. We need to start being very mindful of how we are communicating with the people around us. And you know what? One of the biggest and hardest things to practice all of this, the use of conscious language, is with our own families. With our own families, there is a tendency for us to take it for granted that they understand us, and there is a certain amount of leeway given because we are family. But the reality of it is, whether it's to our parents, to our partners, to our children, whoever, your siblings, if we are a little bit more conscious of how we communicate with our family, it can move mountains and shift many things. And once you see the shift in your own family dynamics, you see how that impacts and how you want to shift it, even with how you speak to those who you work with or those you manage. So conscious language, a good practice point is you can start at home. You can start with the people closest and dearest to you, because I'm guilty of it sometimes, even with certain things, I may snap at something. I may get irritated. I may say something that I regret. But if I was a little bit more conscious of how I chose my language with my own family, I think that would be far, far better. So if anybody's looking for a good practice ground to start with your family, right?
But not limited to that, Roshni, isn't it?
Not limited to that. Not limited.
Go into your business. Actually understand where, become aware that most of the problems we have in business, in projects, wherever it is because of misunderstanding, isn't it? And this is where language was not used properly. And many times we use language properly because we tell, don't think about the pink elephant, isn't it? That's what it is. Or you don't make this delay, don't make this delay happen. And then your brain goes like, oh, shoot, delay, okay. But the brain can't grasp the don't, isn't it? Because the brain, our conscious level, works literal, guys. Literally means whatever you put in that brain. If you tell the kids, no, you don't get chocolate now. The word chocolate and the taste of chocolate is in their brain, in their mouth, and everywhere, isn't it? Now, good luck, to talk the kiddo out, you don't get chocolate. And it takes some skills to do that. In business, it's the same problem. If you tell your team, you are a leader, and you tell your team, no, don't do this, then your team is actually pre-framed, or we call it brainwash, basically, with that word you are putting into their brain. So that's where conscious leadership, conscious language is playing a huge role. And trust me, even I'm struggling sometimes in a flood of communication. But ultimately, the way we communicate makes a huge deal in succeeding on time, in the right way, and no misunderstandings.
Which then ties into emotional agility. We need to start becoming agile with how we reframe how we feel and how we react. So you have emotional intelligence, but you also need to be emotionally agile. As we move forward, I like someone has said, language is an art. Absolutely, Lena. Language is an absolute art. And it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of, trials and errors where we reframe or we re-navigate the approach, right? Now, if we combine conscious language with emotional agility, when we are far more aware of our own emotions and how we are reacting to a particular situation, we need to know how to blend the two and work with our language and our emotional agility to give us the best outcomes, right? So in AI-driven times where there's going to be rapid change, ethical challenges, emotional intelligence, and the agility around stepping back, addressing the emotion, and quickly turning it around becomes even more important. I mean, it's always been important. It's been, it's been there for thousands of years. It's just that we framed it differently or we talked about it differently. But we have a word for it now based on research and what has been done in the space of emotions. So we need to now start combining these two, where we look at conscious leadership and emotional agility in order to become that leader that is able to flex, reframe, and move very quickly, but still manage to keep the fort going. It's a lot. And you might think, wow, there's just so much that we need to do. However, if we start taking the steps, you'll start seeing the change in yourself pretty quickly.
Correct. Actually, isn't it those days, Roshni, we called it change management, isn't it? Which a company introduce a change and then it takes years until it happen and all that. And nowadays, basically, this kind of change happens over months, especially with AI, isn't it? It's basically not a long-term thing anymore. And usually people, we resist change because we are in our comfort zone, usually pretty happy, isn't it? So that's why this emotional agility becomes a huge topic. Don't underestimate it. Become aware again that with AI, I can see people will freak out and some will be left alone because if you don't learn now, actually in maybe 1 or 2 years, you can do things with AI, and if you don't learn and if you don't acknowledge it's happening, you will have a big problem, isn't it? So that's when this emotional agility plays a huge role, how you take these kind of changes.
And it's also how you impart it to your teams so that you give them the confidence in order to manage these changes and the challenges. The issue is how to impart it, correct? So Michelle, in that point of view is, it's how you want to say it to them, and there's a particular framework or how it is that we can put language across. And that's really a practice that needs to be done. There's a bit of training that goes into it as well.
But Roshni, to answer the Michelle's point, that's why we as leaders, we need to be fully aware on this situation, isn't it? And usually we have troubles and we get stressed for stuff we don't know. But once we know, we actually have more control and we can lead the situation. Then we as leaders help the team to do the same process, typically much faster because we went through already. So once they see, oh, he can do, she can do, then usually they will follow automatically as well. But we as leaders, we need to do, and we, Roshni, we want to give you a quick one. Simple things you can literally do here, daily reflections, they call it journaling or whatever, to actually say, okay, that's my plan today, how I'm grateful about, to set the positive mindset. Guys, this is actually mindset architecting here, to literally go into a positive state physically, and raise your vibrations. Because once you are on a higher level with your mindset, you can help also more people. You are more stable. Nothing can actually shake you because you are in the known, isn't it? And seek feedback. Like, yeah, Roshni is telling me like, hey, you know, you do this, you do that. And the important part is honest feedback. So you're when you are a kiddo, your mom, will she tell you honestly? No. She think you are the greatest, isn't it? So at the end of the day, it's in many ways maybe biased feedback you get. Try to find someone who give you honest feedback. And here, the bot you just used before, that bot, AI bot, has no bias for you. That guy doesn't care, good or bad or whatever, but you heard the feedback I got, isn't it? Oh, there is some positive stuff inside, I think in the right direction. So actually, if we program that with the right information as a how to say, the comparison, what we set as a threshold for us, that's what we want to achieve. Basically, when we receive feedback from this AI, there is no bias inside, isn't it? And this is actually quite helpful. In my case, I also got Roshni or my team. They also tell me, Peter, nah, you know, we can do different here. So that's the good news, isn't it? And of course, mindfulness, we discussed this before, stay present and aware on your personal emotional state, because that plays a huge role how you deal with people, isn't it? And then you can make better decisions. Simple as that. Usually people who are shouting, barking, blah, 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 usually how to say, the decisions are not the best, isn't it? We can say like that. So invest in emotional intelligence, development. Roshni, you just mentioned, learn a bit, isn't it?
I mean,
you want to
yeah, so in this whole era of, say, moving into AI and the new revolution that we're going into, it is a revolution and it is changing by the day. AI changes daily. So to say that, I think what we've been exposed to from an AI point of view is still not as much as maybe other parts of the world. But having said that, Malaysia is very committed to moving forward on the digitalization and AI front. So the key word from all of the feedback that has been given from various sessions that we've been a part of is upskill, upskill, upskill. Everybody needs to upskill, whatever your role, whatever your purpose, everybody needs to upskill, because if there is no basic knowledge from an AI point of view, or how things in terms of management are going to change, it's going to become a little difficult when you have to engage with your teams who some may already be well-versed in AI. And especially if you're leading the teams and if you're not up to par, or at least have some knowledge in it, it's going to be a challenge also moving forward, right?
Well, okay, we are a bit in a time issue here. If you don't mind, maybe it takes just 1 or 2 more minutes quickly. What I would like to highlight to you is this upcoming workshop. But there is some value in this, because you see the formula here, AI multiplied AI. Now you think, oh, crazy Peter again. Yes, of course. However, all what we just discussed, guys, the self-awareness, the emotional part, your personal intelligence, that's what you actually pack into the first AI. We call it actual intelligence. You see the graphic here with Albert Einstein, actually, where you have your own wisdom. You bring your own skills, your own experience to the table, isn't it? And now, and this is new in this world, this is, to me, it's mind-boggling. You can actually multiply this with the world's knowledge, and this is all trained in your ChatGPT or other language models. There are many out there, isn't it? So basically what you can do, you don't meet just one person who is an expert in something. you actually can multiply your knowledge with AI and create results you have never done before. And this is actually the part where your awareness actually can go through the roof. Once you become aware, like, oh my goodness. And we are not, we teach how to prompt, but we are not prompting the whole day. We actually teach this new mindset, which you can bring to the table, that your personal experience will multiply when you are aware what actually is possible out there you can do. So that's the whole story about this workshop. And we also integrate new ways of doing business, guys. You see Notion. I'm not sure if you heard about Notion, but you will not get a printed handout. You will get it in Notion. It's basically an online database which you can use personally for you in order to, copy the content into your own account. You can mingle with the content. You can copy paste, especially for the prompts. That's fantastic, isn't it? And everything is there inside this Notion account for the onboarding. As you can see here, maybe I can give you a quick view. So this is Notion, where basically you see the content, the onboarding for when you sign up, and then basically the accounts for ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. And the good news is you get a ebook, which is 50 pages strong, about 102 strategic prompts. You learn prompting. Everything is here already. So that ebook is included. And of course, that's just the onboarding here, guys. Okay. And you just had an experience what AI can do, isn't it? It asks you 3 questions. You got feedback. You got a learning plan. Okay, mini. Now, what we do, first time I have ever seen this, never seen before. We teach the ChatGPT. We create a GPT about that course. We teach the content. We teach all there is about, like the ebook is going inside. Everything is there. And during the training, we will also use it for interactions. Then I will teach the last bit and questions you had and answers, and give basically the link to you. When you go home, you have a GPT with you from that content. And for instance, my team will give you also like cybersecurity points. Maybe you don't remember anymore after that day. Oh, what was it? What did these people tell me? You basically just have a chat with your bot. And the next week in the office, if you need a cybersecurity policy together with your team, it will ask you some questions like you just experienced, and it will give you a template for you to use straight away from the bot. And this is, to me, this mind-boggling. It will change education for good, guys. This is a complete different ballgame, the interaction you have with AI and the knowledge you take home. And it's not just Roshni's knowledge and my knowledge. AI combines the whole Shiva bang of the knowledge of the world and give you that feedback, and it's all inside there. So, guys, I'm not sure if I'm triggering here certain level of awareness, what actually that means for you, not only for you, for the whole world. Imagine if now everybody is doing this in the future, using this kind of complete new way of training and learning. It's a complete different ball game. And because you guys are here, you can actually sign up for still the early bird, despite it is over already, but that's what we do today. So maybe Sarah, you share the link for those who think you can benefit from AI and this leadership where we combine everything. And then you get the bot, you get all these handouts in that very same workshop. And it's one day. And one day is, to me, it's a crazy, how to say, the quantum leap you do in this very one day together with AI, and the way we teach it to you that you can use it literally practical. It's mind-boggling. That's where this consciousness, it will just bring you to a complete different sphere of thinking. Sorry, maybe Roshni, you take over, otherwise I'm going crazy here.
Yeah. No, so anyway, what we've intended to do today is really just give a very broad brush introduction to what it is that we are focusing on and what it is that we are moving forward with. Ultimately, things are changing. Things are changing at quite a rapid pace. But that doesn't mean that we need to be apprehensive about it. All we need to do is to, upskill, learn new tricks in the trade, and understand ourselves better in this ever-evolving, changing environment that we're in. So we look forward to engaging with all of you at some point.
Yeah. All webinars like this anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And really the idea for us today was to start planting that seed of conscious leadership and where that is going to take all of us as we move forward to the future. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe any questions, last questions for the road? Let me open the chat. Anyone, anything want to know?
Okay.
Julian, usually you have a word.
Hi, Peter. Yes, thank you. Indeed, these are eye-opening. This is an eye-opening session. I'm sure many of us are very, very enthused now on the use of AI. I've been trying to use AI. It has helped me personally in my work quite a lot. And indeed, your AI times AI looks extremely valuable. I think it's going to help many people. And I, for one,
because it's from project management point of view as well.
Yeah,
we integrate how you do documents, how you do risk management, and all that stuff.
Yes.
And it helps business projects and as an individual. Sorry, I'm a bit very excited.
It's good. It's also bringing on a lot more work.
Yeah.
Because you can do a lot more things. So
Yeah,
I won't have the 8 hours in the day. I probably have to work something like 18 hours a day to get twice or 3 times as much done. But yes, I agree. It is challenging. And definitely thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you for this eye-opening session. I much appreciate it. I spent a valuable 1 hour here.
Thank you, sir, for the feedback. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So yes.
All right. So if there is no other question, I would like to give a big thank you to Peter and Roshni for sharing their knowledge and practical strategies.
Thanks,
Yeah. Thanks so much. On now how conscious leadership can empower leaders and organizations into this AI-driven world. Without any other questions, I would like to highlight again that PMCC hosts BrainHuddle sessions every month, like this every month, and it is for free, $0. So feel free to stay updated on our future events. Follow us on all of our social media. The links are in the chat box. Yeah, I've been sharing the links over and over. I don't want you to miss out. And most importantly, join our AI workshop 2.0. It will definitely open your eyes, open your mind even wider than today. If you think today is an eye-opening session, imagine that, in-depth workshop. Yeah, enjoy the early bird price today. Other than that, we hope to see you at our next session, in which it is going to be next year. Until then, take care and have a fantastic day ahead. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Sarah.
you, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, really? Oh.